My mask protects you. Your mask protects me. I heard that early and often during our pandemic quarantine shelter-in-place stay-at-home time. And here lately, I appreciate that I did because a lot of people seem to be confused about it. We are not a mask-wearing culture in day-to-day life. Masks before now were for specific jobs and specific dangers, and often their purpose was to protect me, the mask wearer, so that I wasn't breathing in dust or fibers or various other pollutants, or sometimes even disease. But not that last one as much as you would think, even in a hospital setting. Think about a surgical operating room where everybody's wearing masks. Back in normal times, those masks weren't usually to protect the doctors or nurses or other medical professionals from the patient. They were almost always to protect the vulnerable person on the table, the person whose body was open to infection in an unprecedented way, from the other people in the room, from what they might be breathing out. My mask protects you, and yours protects me. It's the opposite of what we might think, what I think some do think or have thought. You're not putting on a mask fearfully, worried about what might happen to you out there, concerned with your own protection. You're putting it on with care and concern for the other people, wanting to make sure that you don't cause someone else any harm. In some cultures around the world, this is exactly how this kind of masks are perceived. There's a time and a season to wear a mask all the time when you're out in public in these cultures. The season is flu season. The time is any time that you yourself have symptoms of illness. It's just what people do. Wearing a mask is visible evidence that you are concerned for other people, and that you want to make sure that you are not putting them at risk or causing them any harm. It is a sign that you have the good of others, the collective good, in your mind and your heart when you are moving around in the world. You are doing it for them. They are doing it for you. Today is Pentecost, the beginning of the church, the beginning of the followers of Jesus being organized into a movement, a community of people that, it says a little later in Acts, held all things in common. They were one body with many members. And one of the main principles that they held in common, believed in as a common bond between them, was this: love one another. Sounds simple, right? But in practice, one of the main teachings of love one another was this, extrapolated from Jesus: serve one another. Whoever, Jesus said, wants to be great at this life I'm teaching you must be a servant, a slave even in the parlance of his time. Servants of one another, Jesus said. That is what you are. In the early church, the first community of believers took this teaching and made it into the center of their life together. Outdo one another in showing honor, Paul wrote. Do not seek your own advantage, but that of the other. And even further, do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility regard others as better than yourselves. And even further, you were called to freedom, my friends. But do not use your freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence. Instead, through love, become slaves to one another. There are many other teachings like that, building off of Jesus. Lay down your life for your friends became put the needs of others ahead of your own. It wasn't just a mushy, nice idea in the early church. It was the foundational principle of their community. Live for others. I am living for you. You are living for me. Because see, in our time, in our culture, not just now, but historically, it's hard for us to hear the teaching of and to the whole community. because we're so used to hearing about what we ourselves, by ourselves, should do or be or practice. Self-help, self-improvement, self-discipline, self-knowledge, me, myself, and I. And culturally, when we hear this, consider others as better than yourself and become servant of all stuff, we tend to think things like, that's a good way to get taken advantage of. Sure, don't seek your own advantage while everyone else does exactly that. And then I come in last. Don't get what I need. Great. Sure, lay down your life. In other words, be a doormat, you're saying. Allow other people to walk on you? And there's no doubt that biblical teachings like these have been used and are still used to take advantage of people, to abuse their desire to do good and to follow Jesus. Consider others ahead of yourself. Send me all your money now and you'll receive blessings later. But the teaching, the centering principle of the early church wasn't be a doormat. They didn't think like that. They hadn't been taught to think like that. It was a communal teaching given to a community of people who were every single day accountable to each other, responsible for each other, concerned every single day with making sure that everyone in the community made it to the end of that day. They were literally living for each other. I for you, and you for me, and them for us, and us for them. I could and should and would consider your needs ahead of my own, because you were already doing the same for me. No one was being walked on, taken advantage of, outcompeted, pushed aside, left out. Everyone was serving. So, everyone was being served, too. And sure, I know, that was an ideal, even at that time. People are people, and people are limited, unable to fully and always live out the true meaning of teachings and creeds, ideas and ideals. The effects of sin and death in the world were as certainly felt then as they are certainly felt now. That's probably why Paul and the other leaders of the time were often coming down hard on them. They needed reminded that they were not just living in the world willy-nilly, all on their own, all doing what they wanted. At another place, Paul entered into a rhetorical argument with himself. All things are lawful, one might say. Yes, maybe so, but not all things are beneficial to this community, to the way we are called to live and be. All things are lawful, one might say. Yes, maybe so, but not all things build us up as a community and as people within it. Like the early church, we live in a time and in a society where, look, you don't have to live for others. You don't have to care. You don't have to consider others to live a life that's about considering others. What's that called? Considerate? You don't have to be that. But the teaching is still there. And it's a communal teaching, not an individual self-discipline or personal challenge. It's an invitation to follow Jesus together, not alone, as servants of each other, as those who live for each other. I live and decide and take account of myself in ways that help and benefit you. And you live and decide and take account of yourself in ways that help and benefit me. It's not selfless devotion and sacrifice from just a few. It's not supposed to be just that. It's a reciprocal circle of love, where everyone is looking out for everyone else, and so every single one is looked out for. Next week, we are hoping to start worshiping together again, physically in the same place. a few of us at a time in various places that we've found to safely do that. Kind of the same way the early church did. And part of considering each other's safety and protection, as well as the safety and protection of the whole community and the whole human family, is that we will do that while distanced from each other, 6 feet apart or more, and wearing masks, properly fitted over both nose and mouth. We'll do this because it's the guidance and recommendation of those who have been tasked with keeping people safe. But even more so, we'll do this because we ourselves are committed to living for each other. We'll do it because we believe in that. We believe in living for those who are vulnerable. We believe in living for those who are making extra sacrifices, doing the really hard work. We believe in living for those who are in community with us, regardless of whether we agree on every topic or share every viewpoint. We believe deeply and strongly in living for each other, and even if we're not great or sometimes not even good at it, we believe more than anything that we can continue to try to do it and to get better at it, maybe even. And so we'll come back together as we can, as we figure some things out together, and we'll wear these masks for each other. I know things like this have become increasingly politicized, and I know that we are living in a time where there are voices and forces that would like for us to be divided from each other, pitted against each other, fighting with each other, each with our own opinion, each looking out for our own interest only. But I believe in Jesus, and I believe in community, and I believe in us, and I believe in you. I believe that we have the ability still to form community around principles of mutual life and mutual consideration and reciprocal care and concern and love. I will protect you, and you will protect me, and I know that together we will find the way to continue placing our love for our siblings, our human family, above all smaller, more self-centered considerations. And the hope of the story of Pentecost is that the Spirit filled them like a wind, like a fire, and it was contagious. It spread out from where it began. It set other people aflame with love and mutuality and commitment to living for each other, taught and modeled by Jesus and centered in a new community of servant friends. May we continue to be vessels who catch and channel that Spirit. And may the desire for mutuality and justice and living for others infect all the children of God.